All right.
Okay, we are live.
The intro.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on our episode. We are on our season 1 episode. Well, actually, season 20, episode 1 of the Gospel Discussion Show. And for those who don't know about the show, it was a show that actually started me podcasting over 20 years ago. So I decided to bring it back, and it had some good reviews back then, and it gave people a chance to open up and have a great gospel discussion. Although we talked in every avenue of stuff like political and different things like we're going to be doing tonight, and as far as Christian avenues. So tonight, our special guest is we have my brother and my brother from another mother, Dr. Gerald Irvin. Dr.
Hey,
Gerald Irvin, and we have John's brother from another mother. And you want to go ahead and introduce him, John?
uh, by way of none other, Brendan Murden, right here in Mesquite, Texas, DFW area.
all right.
All right. So, how do you want to do
Hey.
this? You want to start off with oldest to youngest first?
Well, you start off with the youngest in
Yeah,
reverse.
we can do it like that, Doc.
Okay.
Since we don't need to flip a old coin, an Indian head coin, you go ahead.
All right. All right. So, Dr. Gerald, thank you for joining us, man. You know me. You know how crazy I am, anyway.
Oh well.
Um, but one of the questions we had a few questions that we are going to have for you guys, and then you guys can have a rebut on them. I'm expecting a few callers to call my phone, and John, I got to put your number up again. Um, how was it when you ran for city councilman? What was your outcome? I'm sure you had the same outcome. And what was your outcome? And did you find that if you had a chance to do it again, you would do it again?
Okay. Well, when I started off, I had got my campaign committee together to make sure that you had to have enough foot soldiers to get out and help you with what you're doing. And so going through the times and the trials, we have people don't really think that the only thing they care about is the presidential election. They don't think about the regular election, where it's the most important election of all, because you are choosing your city leaders, you're choosing those that you have to that have to represent you, and you can't go by name recognition because sometimes name don't fit the platform of what you need in your community. You go out and you start paving the streets, knocking on doors, and you find out that everybody that tell you they're gonna vote for you, they ain't gonna vote for you. And one of our biggest problems is where I am, 60% black, 40% white, and out of the 60% black, only 20% voted. But they always crying they want to change. They always tell you, I'm gonna get somebody that's gonna be for us. But I ran on, you know, equality because I feel that we all need to be together on what we're voting for, who we're voting for to represent us. So I went out and I started talking to people. Oh yeah, I'm tired of that mess. They get on my nerve. I said, well, if they get on your nerve, your vote will make a difference. You need to get out and vote. You don't need to stay at home and then say, I'm gonna vote and don't vote. That's one of the biggest issues that we have with now. Tell you they're gonna vote, and when you look at the end results, just about everybody who said they're gonna vote for you, they haven't went out and voted. Because when I checked the statistics on who voted, it showed that 20% of the black population only voted. you know, and then you see people that had ran that I was running against. It was like it was a lot of behind the scenes undercover mess going on, and you know, matter of fact, the people that was on the ticket, they didn't even run, but they won. Isn't that something you say? Well, how you win and you don't run? You don't go out and pave the streets. You don't go out and talk to the people. But somehow or another, I had I feel I did pretty good because I got 611 votes, you know, and a guy that didn't run, he got 700 and some votes. So I'm like, how is that possible when he didn't campaign, he didn't do anything, but he got the votes? And then when I got to the city clerk, that's another issue. Our city clerk has been the city clerk ever since she got voted in by the city council, which I feel that if a city clerk is going to be a city clerk, then the people need to vote the city clerk in, not her being just said, okay, you're going to be here. So she's there to me to keep her job. And here's a person that's been on the city council, never ran a campaign. She wound up with 1,200 votes.
What?
So I'm like, how is that? So, and my wife and I, we went to get the information on absentee ballots, and they told the city clerk had mentioned to us, well, it's too late to get the results or who didn't vote or who voting or how many votes was left over from the absentee ballots. Said it was too late. So she didn't know that my wife worked for the state. So she thought that my wife was coming up there to check on them to see was there any cheating going on. But my wife just came in because they told her she couldn't get it. So when she came in, she presented herself and they saw her work badge and they got scared because they thought the state was coming in to check on them. They gave her all the information. They started sending me emails, stuff that I didn't ask for. But at the same token, when I was on the phone talking, they told her, you can't, ain't no sense of trying to get no information because it's too late. But she got information. She got sending stuff out, got the addresses of those vote and those that don't vote. And you go out and you start paving the streets all over again to try to get those votes. And then at certain places, they didn't want me to campaign there. They said because I'm loyal to the mayor. I'm loyal to this person. I'm loyal to that person. So you can't come in. I said, well, that's against the law. You can't do that. You know, it's a public place and everybody's entitled to campaign. But doing the risk of it all, trying to make a difference and trying to change, politics is what it is. Politics. They go out there and it's who you know. People, you gather the population. And when I was campaigning the area, I found out that certain sides of the city didn't get no type of attention. Certain side of the city didn't get no kind of policing. Certain side of the city was called the ghetto part of the city. So that you know, then they really don't care about that end of the city. So I was running to make sure that they begin to notice both sides. You know, and then in the area where I am now, you know, they don't have. It reminds me of Mayberry RFD when the sheriff, the fire department, everybody is one. So you don't have enough help on the fire department. The police department got to help the fire department, and vice versa. Then you don't have a police commissioner. Then you're still running under the old city charter. So you're running to see if you can make a difference to get the city charter updated, the city things that you need. So you have to continue to fight, and people know who you are now, but is it in your heart to run again? Do you really want to go through the hassle? Do you really want to go through that? So if you don't invest in yourself, you know, you take a look around and you do your inventory, you find out what was missing, what was lacking, to see the next time you decide to run on what to do and how to perfect what you're doing.
Oh wow! Oh wow! And John, we're gonna move to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brother Murden, I want to give you an opportunity to first, because I know this is your first time being on the show and everything, and I'm glad that you're a special guest tonight as well. And you also ran for a city council as well, but I'm going to call you a city councilman and speak it into existence. So I want you to start just by giving a little bit of background of yourself. And I propose the same question to you as well, and the floor is yours, my brother.
Okay, appreciate it, gentlemen, for having me on tonight. A little bit about myself from an educational standpoint. Bachelor's in International Business, Master's in Accounting, Harvard Business School, executive program, and just been a overall advocate in the community for some time, which really kind of catapulted me into one, throwing my name into this whole political realm. And I tell people I'm not a politician. I'm for the people and about the people. So how my journey started was I actually ran a back-to-back campaign this year. I ran for school board this past spring. And that was just a reaction of, we have had individuals in my particular district, individuals that have been on school board for 25 plus years. Wow. So, and then just seeing how they handled, the whole COVID thing in 2020. And at that point in time, you got individuals that have been on the school board 25 years, don't even have kids in the school system. So for me, I became a candidate that actually had kids in the system. So I was speaking from that perspective, and I was giving them that. So unfortunately, like I say, ran a good campaign, clean. It was an at-large race, lost by 100 votes. But how those 100 votes came about was, again, they had never seen an African-American come out the blue. And his name was not tarnished, nothing. They tried to find everything they could. I became a defund the police advocate, a Black Lives Matter leader. I became all about abortion, critical race theory, and I had never spoken on any of these things. All I spoke about was the issues at hand and what needed to be changed and done. So you have those individuals that were still, ingrained, had that ingrained in their head regardless. And a lot of people still saw color. So, fast forward, I tell people, backed by popular demand, that was one of my things when I put myself out there for city council, because I was like, okay, I'm not, my campaigning is done. But the city, like my messaging resonated with the people. And it was crazy how that happened. Like everyone became like, Brandon, you have to run, even those that weren't in my city. And a little history about Mesquite. Mesquite is kind of a suburb of Dallas. So for Dallas, when Dallas and got rid of segregation, a lot of those white folks moved to Mesquite because they didn't want to be a part of that integration back then. So Mesquite still has that old ghetto boy system, and it's slowly but surely starting to come up, because now Mesquite is a majority minority community with 42% Hispanic, 35% Black. So now you have to recognize that now, fast forward, but it's still some of those old individuals still holding on to that same type of mentality because of things of that nature. So for me, it was like the city wanted me back. So for me, it was not only just being the first possible African-American in Mesquite's 135-year existence. They have never had anyone of color, on city council. We just got our first Black sergeant promoted this year. We hired our first Black police officer in 1988. So we're still dealing with firsts out here in Mesquite, to give y'all some history on how we're operating out here. So for me, my whole thing in the city council was all about, it was all about the people. It was all about addressing, progressive thinking, forward thinking, because we still stagnant. They still want to hold on to that old town feel, but they don't want to embrace, forward thinking, progressive thoughts for the city, because we, at the same time, our median age out here is 36 years old, 35, 36-year-old families that are well off. So you can't just, they don't want to see progression. They don't want to see things develop and things of that nature. So I came from that perspective, which kind of scared them. But I'm telling them, let's figure out ways to kind of navigate through this, but figure out how to make it work. That old school feel, but still find a way where I could kind of mesh those new thinkings at the same time. So fast forward, lost by 25 votes, 25 mail-in votes. And my story is just the same as Dr. Irvin. It was my race was never supposed to be close, never, because again, we have a majority minority city. So my school board race was at large. My city council was single district. My district specifically is majority Democratic and majority African American. So you had 2 weeks of early voting. We were pressing, hitting the pavement, knocking on doors. All the the hype was there. And it was just, all of them were going on the skin folk thing, and I was just like, don't just focus on that. We still have work to do, regardless of this first African American thing. But it came to election day. You've waited 2 weeks. Now election day comes, it's cold outside and it's raining. I'm still out there. But I lost by 25 mail-in votes. 25 mail-in votes. Which I'm still investigating. The Attorney General is looking into that because it is too close. But on top of that, like Dr. Irvin said, I saw the statistics. We had 231 African Americans that had committed to voting that did not get out. They were all on my social media, everything, calling, texting me, everything. I got you. I'm there, Not knowing that we can pull those historical voting records of what you did. So now that we're looking at all of the 231 people that did not get out and vote during that whole early voting time frame and the election day. So it hurts. And my story is just like Dr. Urban. We complain, and I'm saying we, because there's a specific demographic, the African American and the brown folks. But I can say that during my time, it was a gift. It was a gift because our city specifically, we only turn out about 5% voting. I voted, and excuse my language, is piss poor in Mesquite, in Dallas County, period. So we have 5% voter turnout. So I was able to turn to double that, to at least get a little bit more people, 10%, 11% people out to vote, first time voters. So that to me was a win in itself, to again have that message that resonates with the people, talking to them face to face. Let me, I told myself, I called my platform the people's platform, because I didn't have predetermined, and I didn't want to always have these talking points. Yes, I had, ideas and things that I wanted to see come to fruition. But my thing is to build out the feedback and talking to you guys. What do you want? What is the issues? We seeing the different crime rates and all this other stuff going on here. Let's figure this out together. I'm not going to come in here with a cape and an S on my chest and tell you what you want to hear, and we're going to turn it, but we're going to work together. And I told them, let me earn your vote as an accountability partner. Hold me accountable to what I say and do, and I'm going to do the same thing, because I don't want you to just check mark the box on this ballot. I want to see you at these city council members, at these city council meetings. I want to see you bringing ideas and bringing things to the forefront so that we can figure this out together. So, like I said, it's been a good run. It's that 25 votes, it hurt, and it hurt the city. It was almost like when people saw Trump win over Hillary Clinton and crying. That's what I was getting. But I told him I'm blessed for that, because it has opened up doors, because now I find myself helping other people campaign now, endorsing them. I mean, now I've been given opportunities to be on the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats on the state level to kind of help other up and coming African Americans who want to take that step into the political realm, or headache, as I want to call you, but working for the people. So I see it as a good opportunity.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, because as I was out campaigning, my thing was looking at how diverse the community have begun to be. And I was running on the diversity of the people. I said, when I win, I want to make sure that you come out to the city council meetings and support. I said at a lot of city council meetings, didn't see too many of the residents sitting in the meeting, but they were all complaining. So it was a great experience, because you got to meet your neighbors. You got to know who's in your neighborhood. You got to see people you never talked to. You got to you begin to let them know what you're about. And I ran on the people. I said to a community that works together thrives together. Mm-hmm. So I was letting them know that we got to come together and support one another. I said we want to get rid of the inequality in our community. We want to start working together. I said, because we have a variety of people, all races, from India, from Chinese, African Americans, Hispanics, all in here. But you have the old regime that don't want to see a change. They want to keep it the same way. They want to make sure that it's fine. Me, pastor, as I was campaigning, yes, I was talking about the Lord. As I was running, I was letting them know, You know, if you really want a change, then you have to be honest with yourself. I say integrity goes a long way.
Yes, sir.
People see you out there and they talk to you, you know, and a lot of people, they did vote, some of them, but the main one didn't vote. I went into a neighborhood. The lady told me, she said, "Oh my God," she said, it's this is the drug street here." She said, "You didn't know they have drugs and gangs over here?" She said, "They never talk about it." I said, "But you can do something about it. If you just get together." And you said Mr. So-and-so was the community mayor, then you, Mr. So-and-so, need to sit down with all of you all, get this coalition together and vote. I said, if you all would have just done that, you know, it would have made a difference in what you're doing. You know, people will say what they want, but they won't go out. You know, they'll cry out to you. They'll say, well, at least I got a voice. Listen, okay, you got a voice that listen. What are you going to do to change?
Right.
You know, so our police department, they said they can't hire black men because black men wear a beard, and one of their rules that you can't wear a beard. But how can you say that? People have a skin disease, and sometimes hair on their face keep the bumps from flaring up. So the guy said, well, we need to change a lot of that because, you know, we don't have black polices. They probably hired one, but don't have many. And I said, well, look at this community here. It's majority black. The color, you know, they got Hispanics, and we need people that represent the community, you know. And then we have the first black mayor, but the mayor that I was campaigning with, she's a millennial. She very educated. She have 3 degrees, master's, you know, bachelor's degrees, and she's speak 5 languages. She know the city government. She know what is missing in the community. And her and I was running together. So they put on the page. It's called the it's like a community page. They started talking about, because I have a doctoral degree, doctor's degree, and I was president of a community called Jefferson Trauma Assistance District Council, which we did redevelopment. We did cleaning up the community, environmental. You know, well qualified, did it for like 7-8 years, you know, and showed the difference. I got endorsed by the Sierra Club about the environment. I was talking about infrastructure. We was talking about cleaning up the areas, the schools and everything. So I was running on what the people said that they didn't get. So, and I was letting them know, well, if this is what you need, then, you know, I'm running for you. I'm not running for me. I'm running for you, and we all can make a difference. And they, oh, I love that. I'm a vote. So we got to the polls. Like you said, it was snowing. It was raining up here. It was snowing. And my wife, she campaigned with me. My wife, she was my secretary. So she kept the notes, the minutes and everything, and made sure everything was up to par. You know, so I felt good because I got my wife helping me out. You know, she did a lot of the, you know, the adversity with the advertisement rather on the campaign, and people say, "Wow, you guys got all this going on." Yeah, so but we did it with less money than everybody else.
Right.
You know, everybody they had their fees, their campaign money, they raised money, they did, but I got the same results and a little better with the little money that I had. You know, so I said, but I'm running on truth. I'm running on facts. I said, I'm running to give you the knowledge and the wisdom that you need, you know. And he was talking about God. We was talking about everything. So on the page, they got to talk about, well, who are you? You know, then he said the young lady that was running for mayor, they say she was a stripper. They had all kind of lies they was telling. They started trying to ask me, well, how you get to do this? What are you that? You know, what is your doctoral degree about? You know, this and that. So they was trying to throw me off my campaign to get me to be in a debate with them. And then what was the most disgusting part about it, we have what we call the NAACP. Now, I'm for that, but when you have the white people running the NAACP, and then I asked you questions on what is good for the diverse, you know, and I was like, wait a minute, y'all asking questions because the NAACP represent 2 cities. Another city called Grosse Pointe, the other city is Harper Woods, where I live. and Grosse Pointe, the majority of people in Grosse Pointe are white. So they're supposed to be in NAACP for all races. So they was asking me questions that didn't obtain to the NAACP. They was asking me questions about what do I think about this history about when blacks couldn't move to Grosse Pointe. But what did that have to do with the election? What did that got to do with running? I said, you got my my history of who I am, what I represent. I said, then they had another virtual meeting. Then didn't discuss nothing about what the city needed. It was all about their questions. And they claimed they went out and they asked the people, what do they expect? So my wife and I was reading, there's nothing on here about the people. There's nothing on here. Our budget this week was in the red for, oh man, it was going crazy. But when you get to learn the people and then you get to look at all the lies and all the deceitfulness and all the character assassination they try to do because they don't know nothing about you, and you just look at them and laugh because it's funny. They try to destroy you. They waited until 2 days before the election, and they really hammered. They try to throw all kind of lies and everything.
Hold that thought, Doc. Hold that thought because we're gonna come back right to that. We're gonna come back to that question with that comment what you just made about before the election. So, John had a question for both of you guys. So, John, go ahead and give your question. Who you want to ask the question first or answer first, and then that person that's didn't answer first, go ahead and then give your answer right after that person that answered first finish.
Yeah, well, I was Brother Murden, you had mentioned about the voting percentage. And so, growing up here in the state of Texas, growing up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, because I also helped campaign for you. That was our first initial meeting, actually, on that particular day. We went out and did some things and campaigns and things. But growing up here, you had mentioned two things. You said in '88 was the first time that they had the first African-American sheriff in
police
Mesquite. Now, if you go back to police officer, okay, in '88. All right. So I grew up just right north of Mesquite, right there in Garland. We were right there. I'm on the east side of Garland. There's 100,000 black folks there. And in 1981 is when the NAACP, since we're talking about that, is when the NAACP came to Garland, Texas school board and integrated the school board. Now I understand what you mean when the integration came and pushed those in Dallas further east of Dallas into Mesquite and Garland area to keep away the blacks. This is what the question that I had. And it's kind of a question, but it's kind of a sense of just kind of answer it the best you can. You said that 5%, and it moved on up to around 10 to 11% of African-American votes, with 38% of the African-American population in Mesquite. And you lost by 25 mail-in votes. That suggests to me, and this is the question that I asked for both of you guys, but I want you to answer this first, Brother Murden. Does that suggest to you that white folks aren't voting that much either? If black folks is coming out at 5% and you can't get no more than that, and you barely lose like that, that tells you that the other races of people ain't voting that much either. Can you put your spin on that?
Yeah, and see that's good right there, John, because we thought even the turnout period for local elections, municipal races across the board are always low, regardless of color, creed, whatever. We recognize that. In specific, and I could go back to Mesquite. The only reason, and I say that we turned out the African American and brown vote, but the whites came out as well. And why did they come out? It was to counter that level of hype per se, or that level of activity that was going on. So you're spot on with that. That the voter turnout in local municipal races are low regardless, especially here in the DFW area. And you can look at Dallas County as a whole. We only had, I think it's 6% that came out and Dallas is number 4 largest populous city in the world, 3 whatever. So it's things of this nature. It's like we're trying to change that narrative, but you also trying to get those what I call those 4-year voters that only care about the presidential. So part like to Dr. Irvin's point, it's about changing that narrative, having that conversation. Yeah, he's the spokesperson of the world, but what really matters and getting down to the serious note is on these local elections, these DAs and everything else that you have to deal with, those roads that you're driving on day to day. You know, the eviction notices and the county clerks and JPs that you need to start electing and things of that nature. So it's all about having those discussions, changing that narrative, educating, because I found myself educating a lot of the voters, as y'all said when y'all were walking for me. You know, that's why I had that literature, give you a gist of who I am, but also what I stand for, and then try to pique your interest to go out and look at my website, or let's have those conversations, those one-on-one conversations. I don't have all the answers, but we're gonna figure it out. But I want to try to pique your interest. Why haven't you looked into local elections? Why haven't you been concerned about local elections in the past? So I mean, it's a sad story. And the thing is, how do we change that? I mean, there's really no right answer for that, John. It's just changing that narrative, having those discussions with those people on the impact that it has on your day to day.
Interesting, Dr. Irvin.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And Dr. Irvin, that same thing, same question for you.
okay, yeah, the narrative of the whole thing is that the local campaigns are more important to me than the presidential campaign. Why? Because your local campaign, like I say, you vote in your government, who's running the city, how the city is being ran, your mayor, your senators, all these are in the local campaign, your local government, and they take more heed to the presidential race because I told him, I said, you remember that cartoon that used to come on that say, I'm just a bill? I said,
Yeah.
I said, y'all remember? I said, they was giving you. I said, they was telling you that bills are ran and passed through Congress. And the president, all he does is sign the bill. I said, so you got the Senate House, you got the Representative House. I said, and I said, what they done, they figured it all out. They figured if they took civics out of school, then you're uneducated to the rules of law, the government. You don't understand how the government runs. So you don't have an interest in it. Why? Because they pulled civics out of school. Civics was the main target to teach people about government, to teach them how the rules of government is, to teach them how important your local government is very important. So we have to kind of go back and re-educate the people. We have to do a community forum on voting. We have to do a community forum on getting an understanding why your vote is so important, why you shouldn't always use the narrative that they gave you. Oh, they're going to do it. They're going to do anyway. So why should I vote? I said, that's just like you dipping the tea bag into the water and draining all the tea out of the bag. And then after you get it, it still tastes nasty. I say, so you need to stop all of these excuses. I say, you talk about welfare, you talk about child care. I say, you talk about your taxes going up. You talk about all the narratives that's involved with local government. I say, so in order to change local government, you have to be the voice. You have to understand that what you go in and you pull that lever or you cover that ink spot, your vote counts. You have the power in your hand to make a difference. I said, so we as I say whites, black, all. I said, because the whites are gonna say, well, we throw this little bait out there, they're gonna catch it and they ain't gonna vote. I said, but they'll come out. The whites will vote now. Some of them don't vote, but a lot of them will vote because they know that's the government side of the city officials. As long as they can.
How you think Trump got in?
Yeah, that Trump got in because they threw a monkey wrench in him and he fed him. It's like a dog wanting some yummy bones and they taste good, and the only one got him is the one that's is the crook. Bone that he gave you wanted, but not what you need. And that's the bottom
Absolutely.
line.
Absolutely. And this is good. I wanted to get off into some other questions as well, because I know we focused on, that, we weren't successful in this particular run in the election. But I do want to ask this, and I want to propose this particular question. What would have been some of the things, and I want to give you the opportunity, Brother Brandon, Brother Merton, to start off with this. What would have been some of the things, had you been elected this first time? What would have been some of the things that you would have primarily focused on? I read a little bit, a focus on homelessness, impoverished kids, and establish programs like that and stuff like that. But what would have been some of the things that you would have dug right into? Some of the immediate things that
Yeah, definitely. What was that again?
Your campaign promises.
Okay.
What
would have been some of the immediate challenges that you would have dug right in? I know that you was dealing with the homelessness, impoverished children, and establishing programs and fundings like that for stuff like that. But what would have been some of the immediate things that you would have dove right into had you been successful?
Yeah. My key thing was always about economic development. And I know a lot of people use that kind of as a cliche statement, but mine was talking as a small business owner and someone who works in corporate America. So for me, it was that economic development, because that's where we lack here in Mesquite. And we don't, the lack of small businesses that we have here, everyone thinks that our local mall is the hub and the mecca of our city, and you don't touch that. But, during COVID and everything else around there, we saw a lot of small businesses suffer. So on top of that, I'm the vice president also of the Black Chamber of Commerce here. So for me, it was utilizing that to try to find those different resources, educational type things, as well as the small business enterprise, all those different incubators to try to help bring in small businesses, entice them, but also help that our small businesses that we do, the few that we do have here, help them and figure out ways to help them thrive. So when I say that I ran on, coming straight in, it was all about economic development. For my district, period, we're the most populous district. We have about 200 some thousand homes, and then we have new development, but we have one grocery store. So they can't serve all the people. So for my means is having someone that can sit at the table and negotiate deals, to be at the business table, because that's the type of experience and the know-how that I have. All these other city council people are going off of, hey, this is my best friend got me in here. I've done this, trucking thing and everything. Not to knock none of that, but we've never had anybody to have that level of experience to sit at the table, negotiate deals, bring, network, bring in the resources for small business. So it was all, for me, it was day one coming in. Let's figure out some of the needs, but also let me start reaching out. And I told them I was already doing that during my campaign. So that was the craziest thing. They knocked it, and they didn't understand how is he already making networks with the county commissioner, John Wiley Price, and these businesses and this corporations, these developers, and he's already starting these conversations. But y'all have been in place, and y'all haven't taken an initiative to even reach out to these people at all. But therefore, you want to sit behind a desk, and you think, okay, we got a one road fix. And that's doing enough for the city to keep them appeased and keep everybody hush hush. So for me, it was all about economic development day one.
And also, just real quick, do you think that because the way capitalism is, do you think that that's really played a significant role within the voters friendly aspect, because of the way they're doing things, especially right here in the state of Texas right now, with the voters' right being suppressed, and then with the school board administration going in with this not being able to talk about history in a certain way? What's your take on that? And I'm going to propose the same question to you too as well, Dr.
I think it plays a lot in it, John, and that's just plain and simple, because a lot of them are seeing or are trying to direct it to, cater, let me put it like this, cater to a certain audience, shall I say. And then they're not even, some of these individuals are not even taking heed to, the things of trying to create or formulate this whole new educational system, as you say, taking certain parts of the history out, this whole critical race theory, and they're not seeing the bigger picture. There's things that, and I got asked that the whole time I was doing school board campaign, how I felt about CRT and critical race theory and everything else, and they not for it and all this other stuff. But you got to understand, there's bits and pieces of history that people need to know, and we probably wouldn't be in this situation. We wouldn't have George Floyd's and all this other sensitivity training if people were aware and understand how certain individuals or races think and act, and how we're more scared of certain people than y'all are of us. So it's to me that bothers me. So to go back to your question, the capitalism playing a part, I see it do playing somewhat of a part to navigate things, and then also these people creating these false narratives behind certain things that are coming into play from critical race theory, from different city council. We're dealing with all kinds of stuff here in Texas. So it's this upcoming election is going to be something serious.
Do you think that's going to cripple the masses of those who are voting, because those who are elderly, those who are having trouble, being able to get out and stuff like that, that's in rural area? How do you think that this is going to cripple? And we're going to also propose that same question to you, Dr. Irvin. Just give me just a minute. I just want Brother Brandon to give us his last take on that. How do you think that's going to cripple us within the next 2 years, 2 to 4 years? How badly do you think it's going to get?
Oh, very much so. And it's just like you said, that is that suppression piece. They're trying to cater, and I keep saying they, and we could say the Republicans, or there are even some Democrats that are playing that role as they're being true Democrats, and they playing the fence. But yes, I do think it's going to suppress the individuals. It's going to limit the elderly and what have you, and that fits right into their narrative. To get their points across, get some of their motions and laws and what have passed to fulfill some of these needs and some of these lobbyist needs as well. So it takes away. It's sad at the same time that we're seeing that our voter rights have been suppressed and being taken away for something that, especially our people have died, literally bloodshed and tears for, just to see us just get a seat at the table, or even be able to check marks that ballot box, So we got to keep the fight going and make sure that we elect the right people, or get the right people in there. And I'm not just saying just because they're all like we say, all skin folk ain't kin folk. So just because they black, that don't mean they for us. But like I say, we do need some of the right people in place. We do need some of the right people in place.
Yes. As our allies. Dr. Irvin, take it over, brother.
All right. Like I say, the CRT is it's called a fear factor. You plant the seed of fear into the people's minds, and they see that the young generation is trying to erase that fear factor, because they want to know about races. They want to know, how did this happen? So when Reagan and George Wallace and the Goldwaters, they used those theories to try to win an election. So they come back and start using the same old manipulation tactics to try to destroy the minds of the people. Don't vote, racism, don't vote. And you have some white people that are against the CRT because they want their kids to know the history of racism. They want to know about the different cultures, but they dominated because they call it gerrymandering. They changing the voting, redistricting everything. So the Republicans
thank you for bringing that up.
A bigger side of saying, well, this is our territory. It's like a territorial thing. They want more Republicans to have the more voice, because you're getting into the guy who's about to retire for the Supreme Court, and they know if they can get all the more Republicans in, then they'll have a total control of the racism. They can make decisions. They can vote stuff out. They can do this and keep you from gaining power. See, it's all about power. Now I'm just saying, white, they want the power. They don't want the minority to have any access to building. I ran on, like you say, infrastructure. I ran on the economy, businesses, and one of the main things, community relation, with the police force. We did that. I talked about that. I let people know, your voice needs to be heard, but how can it be heard if you're not going to vote? How can we do anything if you're not going make a difference. I said, you're going to still sit at your house, turn on your TV, your video games, get on the telephone, girlfriend, boyfriend. You're going to still talk the same old stuff. Nothing changed. To still doing the same thing, but you want to sit at home and complain. You want to sit at home and lie. You want to sit at home because you feel like, well, they're going to win anyway. Yeah, they're going to win because that's what they plant the seed in you to say that. When you speak to yourself saying enough is enough, I look at Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey's, even Malcolm X, talk about, the blacks, talk about who you are as a citizen in America. Places like in Texas, they still talk about black people are what, 3/5 of a human. They preaching that. They trying to teach all that we don't have no rights. We don't deserve to vote. We don't deserve to be as human beings. So we have to change the narrative and let people know, hey, get up, stand up. Stand up so your pants won't keep falling down. Stand up so you can get yourself right. And people will respect you because what? You start respecting yourself. If you don't respect yourself, how you expect anybody else to respect you? If you don't speak up, people ain't gonna speak up for you. You got to get out there and start making a change. Start letting you know that your local election is more important than the presidential election. Because when you see the House, the majority rules the House. The majority rules, they're going to vote down everything that black people want. You see what they're doing? They talk about child care. You got a undercover Republican like he's a Democrat in there trying to say he for this. I mean, what's been lacking. You know what the people need, but you don't want child care. You don't want this. You think you the president. You think you got control of the House because you got that one vote that's powerful. So people, if you don't see anything, you need to vote the folks out that are doing you harm. Vote the people out that are not for you. Don't go on the name thing because names ain't nothing in these days and time. It's all about educating yourself, reading about it, asking questions about it, and know who's representing you. If you don't know who's representing you, why are you going to sit at home? Why are you going to sit there? My kids being mistreated. My kids can't get a degree. My kids can't get this. Why? When I went back to school, I went back and got my bachelor's degree, Wayne State University. I went back to school. I went back and showed the young people, look, if I can do it, you can too. You need to stay focused. You need to re-educate yourself. I said, in Black history, it's taught in college. It's never been taught in school. They give you a little bit of the Peanut Man, the traffic light, they give you all those little narratives. But what about the other blacks that have done great things, inventing the freezer, inventing the touch pad on the wall that a black woman invented, and they stole her idea. Every time a black person creates something, back in the long time ago, they didn't know anything about patent. They didn't know anything about holding their stuff keep it for themselves so their generation can, receive benefits from what they created. So the white population.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm
and I was going to say piggyback.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to piggyback on that with what you were saying because I keep hearing both of y'all saying pretty much the same thing on as far as we don't have the education, and so I wanted to touch bases a little bit on that. What would be some of the things? And this is a question I propose to both of y'all, but Brother Brandon, I want you to go first with it. We're coming up on 12 minutes before we close. What would be some of the things that you think we should do to prepare our people, our generation of people, this next generation of people, and for critical thinking on some of the things that they should be aware of and why it's very important for them to do, for them to get out and vote? Or if we're not, why is it important for us to really start having our own that we can fall back on? Because for some reason we don't have our own. We have to keep going over to somebody else's playground in order to play, and we don't have our own playground. Go ahead, Brother Brandon.
Right. And I think it starts with just what you touched on. I think you touched on it, John, as well as Dr. Irvin. It's that outreach. It's that level of education. It's having those conversations. It's as simple as I can say. It's as simple as that because we need to. A lot of us have, just been siloed for so long and look and let the TV kind of guide us. Now this day, social media guide us and what have you. And you have those, as Dr. Irvin said, my vote doesn't matter. People gonna still go on with life as is and things of that nature. They become nonchalant and programmed to think that everything is not going to work in their favor. So we need to start enforcing, the importance of local elections, but the importance of voting. Get out of that that feeling that okay, my vote doesn't matter, or they, is rigged, and all these other different things that we know within our community that we say. Because I was one of them, like the hell with the vote. I can vote, and that's one vote. But who's to say that my one vote is going to change? But I grew. It's a level of growth and maturity as well. And then you start having those conversations with seasoned individuals that have been there, that have done that, in these different capacities. You start talking, having those level of conversations. Then we, on top of that, we need to start grooming our young folks. And Dr. Irvin spoke on the key thing is that civics and the schools and having those conversations. And that was kind of one of the ball and chain things for me and here in Dallas County, as I wasn't aware that, they don't even encourage to register voters at 18 as soon as they turn 18 while they're in school. So it's things like that we need to start, identifying some of the issues and some of those ideas, but we need to start grooming some of the young kids and actually listening to some of the young kids and the youth, because to me, some of them are out there in the community more than you like it, and even more when I was growing up, and they're knowledgeable about what's going on. They're knowledgeable about things that are impacting their community, and they speak with intelligence. So it's things like that, not just us dictating things, but having those conversations, creating those strategies. I think there's a quote out there: mobilize, strategize, organize, all that. That's where we need to be. Not just for politics, but just for us and our people, just to be educated on things, to learn how to navigate and move, and not just sitting back watching social media and everything like that. Let that kind of dictate in our thinking and what happened.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with all of that.
Amen. I certainly do appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, like I said, I'm Brandon. I'm with you 100% on that. The young people, we just got like 15 youth join the church and teaching them about the Word of God, teaching them about how important they are as a human being. Because what they have done, they have tried to set up a pattern to take our minds off of being educated. Why? They got all the stuff that's out in the streets. You got the video games, you got the computers, you got everything going on but the right thing. Re-educate our young people, and they need leaders that's going to help them get to the next level, because by them being young, the older people don't want to pay them no attention, because they know that they got power when they develop into the skills and technique that they need to know to get out and vote and get the other millennials out to vote, and let them know that they can make a difference. Let them know that they do have power in their hands, because every year senior done turned 18. Every year you educate them. It's your turn to vote, register, and it should have a system automatically. When a kid turned 18, he's registered to vote. They should have it through the school system. When they fill out those ACTs, we're going to vote, apply to vote, get your registration card. When I was growing up and I was 18, the first thing that came to my mail was a card to say you got to enlist in the service. So why they can't do that with you? Got to register to vote. The same technique they use to get a person to go into the service. They had put fear. If you don't come and register, we're gonna come get you. To register to be in the army. They wanted to make sure they had a soldier. So they had all these techniques going up. But for our school, they had the grants and stuff. The government had GI loans and things like that. And a lot of those things are not happening. But you got to get back into what makes America. Who we are, Americans. We are the people. We are the ones that you learned your skills from, but you're using our skills because you're holding us down. You got a brick in our back pocket so we can't get up. So take the bricks out your pocket. Let us begin to walk. Let us begin to speak. Let you know that we're smart just like your children are. Because when I was growing up, the guy told me, he said, you know what I do with my son? This is a white man. He said, I tell my son that Black people are here to work for us. I want you to learn what Wall Street is about. I want you to learn what this is about. I want you to learn the government, but don't worry about them because they're here to work for us. So now we got to break all of that. And the young people, the white young kids, they're not for a lot of this stuff. They want to come together. You saw how
we got 3 minutes left, brother. So we want to let's give Brother Brandon a chance, an opportunity to give his URL. And if y'all want to give a shout out to somebody, we got less than 2 minutes left. Brother Brandon, just give your URL real quick if you want to give a shout out to somebody. And if you have anything to say to anybody out there that want to get off into this and want to do something like this, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I appreciate you gentlemen inviting me out. Like I say, this is definitely the type of platform, John, Dr. Irvin, and Dr. that we need. You know, it's that outreach. We got to figure out somewhere to start chiseling at the ears and catering to some of these youth that, you know, aren't picking up books or newspapers. So, you know, their thing is technology. So I appreciate this platform and continue this as part of the outreach. And it goes back to how do we change the narrative? How do we get people involved in local communism? How do we become better community advocates as well? So I appreciate this, and I hope that others will buy into this. Dr. Irvin, I know you're in a totally different state, but like I say, our strategy, our messaging, it's all the same, is universal, and it's all the same. So whatever you need from me, my brother from Texas, from a far long distance, let me know. And because, like I say, I know I can't call. I don't know if we want to call it a fight, but it is an initiative and an objective that I think we all need to adhere to. You know, like I say, I take and absorb from my elders. I was that knucklehead out in the street. You know, granted, I had A's and B's, and you know, and was in sports and my single parent family household. But I felt, you know, when I came outside, you know, a different lifestyle. But you know, everybody can turn that key. I am a prime example, so that's why I speak from. I come from the heart, and then part of my thing is, you know, I want to do that hard work, but also that heart work, and that was part of my whole mantra. But again, I appreciate you guys having this platform. And looking forward to working with you all.
Amen. I receive all of that, Brother Brandon. I receive that, and we definitely will communicate because the struggle is still here. You know, we can't say it's over because it's not. You know, it's not going to be over until we all are on the same playing field. We got the equal opportunity. We can do what we need to do, raise our family, teach our children. You know, let them know that they can be a president. Let them know they can be a city council. Let them know, you know, that they can be. And one thing, we need to revamp our school system, that we can throw civics back in there. You know, that we can make sure that every child is reading, got a book, that know and educated. You know, because they used to say blacks have the low reading score, but there's a lot of blacks that have a high reading score, that are smart, that are intelligent, that want to be somebody and tired of being locked down. So we all come together, and as you say, outreach. Let's outreach to them. Let them know, hey, you are my hero. You're going to be the next person that represent us. You know, so, and we got to make it sure that they understand that. You know, get out of them video games. Why don't you be the creator of a video game? Why don't you be the creator of creating more 5G and all this other stuff? So it's still room for you. You know, you got to let them know that.
You know, you're absolutely right. You know, it's just time for our youth, you know, just a reorganization of our mind, the recapturing of our mind. I often say and criticize when they say we're brainwashed. I often say we're brain dirty, and we need to be washed, because anytime we wash something, it's clean. We need a clean brain, because right now we have a dirty brain. So I think sometimes they even use brainwash and make us think that that's dirty, when dirty is dirty. So we need a washed brain so that we could think clearly. And so, because it's all cluttered up with a whole bunch of stuff. So sometimes they just fool with us and flick with us so much and just keep us all out of discombobulated. I want to thank y'all again for being here. We have had a real nice show, and we want to do this again. And I know that y'all have any shouts out that y'all want to give out. Of course, we are already really out of time. Dr. Herndon, anything you want to add? I know we got less than 50 seconds.
Yeah, I want to.
I think that's.
Yeah, I want to thank both of you guys also for coming in, Dr. Urban, and I want to say Dr. Bird. Say Dr.
You
Brandon.
say
I'll take that from you, John. John spoken into existence on Councilman, because I will be running in 2023 again.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
you
But
count this time, bro.
I also
You
want
in
to
there.
remind. I also want to remind you, Brandon. Dr. Urban is a part of our gospel discussion show that comes out every Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. No, 7 p.m. I'm sorry, Central Standard Time. And if you would like to join our panel, brother, you are more welcome. It's only an hour. It's only an hour show, just like tonight. And we have a couple of other brothers that and sisters. Dr. Urban and his wife is
Yeah.
joined. You and your wife is very welcome to join. And we talk about great topics concerning Christian views, values, and but we talking about like how we talking tonight, because it is like you said, we have to get out there and we have to let not only our young people know, but there are some adults that need to know too. So this platform is open for that. And you are very welcome, man. You're very welcome to join our platform on Sunday nights if you have the time or whenever you can make it. And
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Urban, thank you
I'm
again.
sharp
Thank you
iron.
again.
All right, and Brandy, you can catch me on Facebook, Gerald L. Irvin.
Okay, I got you.
All right.
I appreciate.
Also, Brandon, you can catch the radio show on their radio station at Right Now Praise Radio, and you can also catch us at on our radio station also at KBDH Radio.
Okay.
So this will actually be airing on KBDH Radio either tonight, then on our TV network, and it will be airing on our TV network also. So ask John
Nice.
for that information, and
Yep.
then if we can service you in any of those areas, just let us know. And I believe that Dr. Urban's they also have a TV network.
Okay.
So if you get with him and he can service you also.
Gotcha. But again, I appreciate the blessings to you, gentlemen. Appreciate y'all.
Amen.
Looking forward to working with y'all.
All right.
Absolutely.
God bless
And
you and have a Merry Christmas.
Dr. Herndon, Brendan tired of me calling him and texting him and stuff.
No,
I be texting him and stuff. He about tired of me. Quit texting me. No, geez, which I'll send it to you. I think you already got it anyway.
Okay.
Enjoy it tonight, y'all have a good night.
I'm gonna go out with our theme song, so if you guys can hold out just for give me 1 minute left to listen to our theme song. This is I'm paying homage to the guy that wrote it. Pray for his family. He passed in September, and he was a great man of God, and he did this theme song for me more than 10 years ago. So just pray for him and his family.
Sit in, flooding the radio waves with the gospel. Sit in, to be your home like an apostle. Sit in, doing it big for the Lord, y'all. Sit in, putting the grace serving the King as his call. Sit in, gospel talk, watch the anointed fall. Sit in, love of Jesus Christ, repping he's the Lord of all. Sit in, he also about Christ and lifting him up. We can sit in, love of majesty and power, reigning from his throne. Sit in, call us out just cause we got your healing remedy. Sit in, for the saints and the folks that ain't no king. Sit in, preaching, rapping, even silent for the Lord. Sit in, here's the way for turning it down. So you can't afford. Sit in, gospel, discussion show. Gospel, discussion show. Gospel, discussion show.
All right.
All right, Doc. Was that all?
All right. Merry Christmas. God bless you all.
All right. God bless you.
All right, you as well, my brothers. Thank y'all. Y'all be blessed.
All right, you too.